So I want to react to this video that is by somebody who I've seen the icons of this person or the image in the beginning, but I've never really watched any of their video. I saw a 30-second snippet and I was like, yeah, I got to react to this video because they're reacting to Jared Taylor, who is one of the most hmm, what's a word that I could use? It's not going to sound too attacky. One of the most racist people on the internet. He is one of the people that I call clean racism, where he doesn't look like one of the people who would fight you in the middle of the street, but he has the exact same opinions that they do. And of course, why wouldn't he? He's kind of from that era mentally.
All right, so you said you have this video. You sent it to me.
Yeah.
If we can listen to it one more time, especially the place where the white gentleman was talking about what he's concerned about. Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, the person who is being talked about here is Jared Taylor. This guy is anything but a gentleman. He is basically a far right person who believes that, I mean, he's not going to say it this way anymore, but he really believes that America is for white. Well, he really believes all places where white people currently are now are for white people. So he believes Australia is for white people, even though they took it from the Aboriginals. He believes South Africa is for white people, even though what? He believes that America is for white people, even though America is not for white. They literally stole it from Native Americans and then forced Africans there. Now they're complaining that there's Africans there. And then Europe, of course, he thinks that one is for that, which, by the way, his argument would be way stronger if he just stuck to that. But of course, Europe is kind of a frozen continent and they don't want it. So they kind of want to claim every other piece of land besides that one, which, by the way, the scary part is you may think that they just want Europe and they want white lands or whatever. No, they don't. They want to regroup so that they can try to colonize the earth once again after a series of failures. The white nationalists, I mean, not just white people. It's not white people. It's the white supremacists.
So here's the video that's been trending. I first saw it on I believe DL Hughley had first posted it online on Instagram. And basically it's just about two gentlemen. Let me just show you right now. It's about two gentlemen sitting down. One is an Asian, one is a white man. And he's explaining to the Asian gentleman on why he voted for Trump.
The reason he voted for Trump is pretty obvious. And this video from the Young Turks from 8 years ago tells you why. Because it confirms something we've already known. I mean, Trump put out a statement himself where he says he doesn't want people from blank countries and he wants more people from like Sweden or whatever, which he in the beginning pretended like he never said that. And then now he just puts it out there in public because now he doesn't care anymore. And their question was, Trump and white supremacists parrot some talking points. So how could Trump be parroting talking points from white supremacists? That if you're familiar with these type of people, if you're familiar with this group, you will hear it immediately. When you hear it, you go, that's a white supremacist talking point. I don't mean just dog whistles or whatever. I mean like literally word for word sometimes. So yeah, let's get into the video.
He said he voted for Trump because if Trump policies go through, then it would slow the disposition of whites in America. So let's see it.
So I hate to be the English police, but I don't think she meant disposition there. I think she meant displacement of whites in America.
Know how it is you voted for Donald Trump when you're so into facts, because his entire campaign is not based in facts. It was all based in propaganda and emotion.
So I don't know who this male is, but he's already making some good points there, except one. The one where he says that Jared Taylor is a very logical person. I'm guessing that is sarcasm. Well, evidence-based person. Jared Taylor is the opposite of an evidence-based person. There's actually a debate that he did with Tariq Nasheed where basically he states his opinions, and most of his opinions are based on nothing but emotion. And I think I have to watch that at some point. It's a long time ago, though. It's like 9 years ago. This is brand new.
I voted for Donald Trump for one reason only. His policies, if implemented, would slow the dispossession of whites in the United States.
Okay, so now I understand what is meant by the word dispossession here. So I thought she said disposition. Dispossession. Dispossession is when you take someone's land away from them. Do you see where I'm trying to get at with this? He is not talking about the displacement or whatever. He's talking about, he's basically saying that if there's enough people of another race in America, they've basically stolen the land from the people. He believes that he owns the land of the Americans, even though the land was stolen. But you know, we'll get back to it. Let's see his amazing point.
If you were to deport all illegal immigrants, if you were to think very hard about letting in any Muslims.
So from what I read about illegal immigrants, the majority of them who are getting deported are from South America, which is weird because considering that South Americans are a blend of majority two people, Native Americans, who we already discussed pretty much is their land, and then white people, right, combined together, and then throwing in their black people and other races. Why does he think that the white people in America are more entitled to the land than Native Americans and other white people who live in the South of America? It's a question that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I can't get the answer. In the same way, I've asked this question before. What does the word Western mean? The Western world, you know, and why isn't Mexico part of the Western world? Why isn't Argentina part of the Western world? I want you guys to look at this map over here, and it's a very interesting one. And you can see that Russia is considered related to the Western world, and so is South America, and so is that part of North America that touches the United States. Canada, the United States, Australia, Europe, the part where they like, you know, it starts to cut off once it starts to get Muslim. Those parts are not considered part of the Western world. Now the question is, how do they decide this? How do they decide what part is part of the Western world or not? And the answer is, it's kind of random. Something you guys don't know is that South Africa used to be considered part of the Western world until, of course, the black population took over. Still got the same laws generally, but somehow we've been taken away from the Western world because of something. So the question is, what makes something a Western world or not? And the answer is, if it's got cooperative white people. Cooperative with what? Well, we'll get there. So Russia is a good example. Russia's got a lot of white people, right? A lot of proper white people, but they don't bend in the same way, but they're bendable, which is why they're blue on that. And, you know, because do have people who can lean into, I mean, I'm not going to say the entire Western world is white supremacist, but they can be bent into the white supremacist ideas, which is why they're like that. And so can parts of South America, because a lot of them identify themselves as white. But of course, the white thing is a purity test. I know some people want to pretend that, you know, the Western world is some sophisticated term, but I know what it is. We know what it is. It's not even places that are in the West anymore. Australia is not in the West.
All of this would slow the rate at which whites are becoming a minority.
Why are you so worried about the white dispossession of America?
Well, that's an excellent question. And the answer is because you can't continue to dominate the earth if you don't have one of the most powerful countries around that allows something like that to happen so that other countries can continue to be subjugated, to be underneath, and then, around the areas because America pays lip service to a lot of these countries, but in real life, they're exploiting as much as anybody else is. And so if you keep control of that country and not allow them to fall into the hands of other people, because they do know that if there's a black majority there, they're not going to be okay with just degrading black people.
Because I want my people to survive.
Oh, okay. I see where the controversy came from. So this is a young Asian, I believe Chinese, who was born in the United States. And
Yes.
so she's citizen by birth, a Chinese, and then a white gentleman, and they're having dinner, quite friendly, and the white gentleman is concerned about what he termed the dispossession of white America.
Right.
I noticed that he didn't mention where the white person was born. So for those of you that don't know, Jared Taylor was born and raised in Japan. So by birth, he is not American. And if he's got a problem with that, then he would have to throw himself out, which is why he makes an exception for that. And he thinks that birth is not that important.
The Asian young man was saying, but why would you be concerned of the dispossession? And you are saying what?
Why would he be concerned? I mean, don't we all live in America? Whites, blacks, Asians. Why would you be so concerned that, I guess, power is you're not going to have it anymore just because of what? So he's happy because he's assuming that, or not assuming, he believes that the reason why he voted for Trump is so that Trump can carry out these policies that will protect white people in order for them to carry out or to continue to have power, access to certain liberties.
Okay, that was a good try. So basically, the reason why you should have a problem with it is because what he's basically saying is that the nation of America isn't powerful enough in its laws and the way it works that it cannot go beyond race. In other words, if white people go out of the system, then the Constitution, all of that will be disrespected and America will no longer be America, which is not proven at all yet. And it's not even proven that that's a good or a bad thing. Let's start there. But then if we carry on, he is not just saying that I just want to protect my people. What he's basically saying, and I want you guys to hear me loud and clear when I say this. He basically, what he's trying to say is, if white people mix with any other group, they are dying. In other words, if a black person has a kid with a white person, the white part of that person is dead. That's what he's trying to say. Like, it's gone. And so if you have a place where they have take the Cape Coloureds or whatever, where they're mixed with black and white, the only group that he recognizes there is the black. So in other words, he's saying that the white people there are dead, and that's why he says he wants to preserve. And it doesn't matter if you look like a white person or whatever. In his opinion, that is gone. This is why white supremacists like the idea that you will preserve the whiteness of it. It's not because they think, oh, the system is too weak or blah, blah, blah. In real life, what they really think is, I just want white people to dominate the earth. That's what they really think. But they don't want to put it that way because it's going to be too explicit.
I think we would take away the Trump part because
Okay.
a president is not going to stop the dispossession of white America. But I think the central thing in this argument they had was that the white gentleman is concerned that with the rate of birth, and many people have said this, and the influx of other ethnicities and race, that there will come a time, if it's not slowed down, there will be the dispossession of white America, right? Mm-hmm. And he went on to say, the reason I'm concerned is because then my children would have no legacy and culture left in this country.
Which is a weird statement, because even if, people from other races came and they would fuse, because that's what happened. They didn't just outbreed them or whatever. They actually, what's happening is there's a lot of fusion between black and white people, not just black and white, but different types of people like that, just like it happened in South America. And those people will see you as their, children in the long run. That is why South America, as far as the Western world, is colored with blue there, because there's still a chance for those people to be converted. This is why people like Nick Fuentes, who are Mexican and have black DNA, can still be part of the white supremacist movement, because they have this exception made for them in let's say less prosperous times. You get, if they win, then yeah, Nick Fuentes is not going to qualify. But let's move along from that.
We will have no, and I don't see anything wrong at all with what he's saying. No country would allow foreigners. So they say when a tree falls into a river, it doesn't become a fish.
Okay, so let's break down those two parts. So one of the problems of what he's saying is, of course, the first part where he says no country would want that number of foreigners coming into their country. And the problem with that is that that's happened several times in history, where countries have allowed large amounts of foreigners to come into their countries. In fact, America is one of them. And then secondly, it's true. If a tree falls into a river, it doesn't become a fish. But that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. But the problem with that saying is that he's saying that white Americans are Americans. What he's basically saying is white Americans are Americans. They're the fish, and everybody else is the tree. Meaning that being American is to be white. Now, I don't want to go through this again, but if we use nativism, there's only one group that can be native to America, and it's definitely not the Europeans.
Now, I'm a naturalized American, but I'm not going to say that I'm an American. I'm American politically, but not culturally.
So this person has a misunderstanding of culture. See, culture is not something that has to do with necessarily history. That's called history. Culture has to do with what you're doing now. As I've mentioned before, the word culture, if you explode it to its highest term, but let's not do that. But I'm going to explain exploding it. Culture is basically everything you do. The way you walk is culture. The way you talk is culture. Who you're with is culture. He is mistaking the word culture with history here, because of course that's going to make the argument for white people to be the real Americans much better. But the culture of the people who migrate to America, that's still part of American culture. It wouldn't be their culture if it didn't happen.
The Chinese dude was born in this country, and therefore he's American by birth. But that doesn't make him American culturally.
So let's start with why this doesn't make sense in the case of America, but it makes sense in other cultures, right? So for example, if we take what they're basically want America to be, if we take states that are based on ethnicity, right? For example, Jared Taylor was born in Japan, but he can never really belong to Japanese culture. In those areas, it would be more true that he can never be Japanese culturally, except that the Japanese don't control what their culture is. I mean, what is Japanese culture? It's been filled in with Western ideas. There's even Western people, minority, but Western people. And in the same way, all of that. America has the same history as, let's say, the Mediterranean areas, North Africa, the Swahili coast, all those, where there are groups of multiple places who come in. And so the culture cannot really be one race in that same way that a place that is that far away and that isolationist like Japan is. America forfeited the idea of being an isolated culture the minute they decided to bring people to their country. That is not their culture. and especially if you go by the laws of the country.
Why? Why doesn't it make him American? Doesn't he live here?
No,
Doesn't
culturally, I mean, when you talk about white people, the founding fathers of this country were of the same uniform background, WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. They have a culture, a religion, a language, a history, and they want to protect it. This is the home of their children.
Okay, but that's an annoying wasp. And of course, he said white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Okay, so are you saying that someone who is white but is not an Anglo-Saxon should also go, which by the way, they will, this guy won't, because he is buying into this guy's nonsense. But are you saying if you're not white, Anglo-Saxon, and Protestant, then you should not be part of America? And by the way, those same white Anglo-Saxon Protestants didn't say that you have to be that in order to be American. So what sense does that make? Also, yeah. By the way, you didn't invent a continent just because you're called white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. You didn't invent the continent. Anybody can go there.
This is what they built for their children, and you came in as a guest. The guest will never take over a house.
Wait a minute. Wait. Let's start that again. So this is the house they built for their children. Let's not start when the Europeans get here. Let's start with the Native Americans. So this is the house they built for their children, the Native Americans. The guest can never take over so who was the guest in this case? So the guests were white people, and then they took over the house. So what you're saying is their occupation of America is illegitimate and they should probably return to where they come from. But you're not going to make that argument because even though it's perfectly in line with what you're saying, somehow you just start, I don't know why you start the clock where you started.
Never happened. Number two,
even in just the comparison alone, it does sometimes happen that the guest takes over the house, but let's not even go into that because that's kind of nitpicky. But what do you mean never happened? It happened. The Europeans did it over and over and over again. They kept taking people's places that they were welcome in. They were welcome in Congo and they decided to take it over. They were welcome in Egypt. They decided to take it over. They just took over everything. And of course, the Middle Easterners did it too. That's the history. People coming in uninvited and taking over.
I really would support the white man, okay, for the dispossession of white, as he's saying, because you see, he's trying to protect you and I. Because if this country falls into the hands, the majority of the wrong people, whatever attracts us to come here will be gone and we will never be able to come here anymore.
That's interesting. That's interesting that he thinks that this guy wants to protect him. So this guy wants to protect you. The thing that attracts us here, the thing that attracts you there is, let's be honest, the wealth. It's not the white people. It's the wealth of the country. There are stuff there that's not so attractive too. Let's start with the racism, and then we go to violence and all this other stuff that's there. The fact that they bomb random nations, the fact that they exploit other places. Who is he? You do realize that this protection that you're talking about is done by exploiting wherever the hell you come from.
So you're saying that immigrants wouldn't be able to sustain America or sustain civilization? Is that what you're saying?
That is not what he's saying. He's fine with immigrants. He's saying anyone who is not white will not be able to sustain America, even though they've sustained other countries. The guy he's talking to, as he claims, is Chinese. There's a sustained country right there. I mean, it's right there, right on America. America is literally scared of what will happen. And in fact, it was predicted in the 60s that China is going to dominate the world in the future, and that they've been doing it for thousands of years, and they're in the perfect position to do it again.
That we don't have the capacity to do that?
Well, I'm not saying it, I'm only describing it. Have you taken a look at Haiti recently? Would you, even as an immigrant here, want Haiti to become the majority in this country?
Sir, yes, I would love it if people of Haiti would become the majority. But let me ask you a question. How many people do you think live in Haiti? I mean, according to Google, there's 11 million. How could they possibly become, if every single person from Haiti went to America, they would not be the majority? So, what on God's green earth are you talking about?
I mean,
Have you
Haiti.
taken a look at some of
Haiti
the
has
African
its
countries, Somalia, Sudan, South Sudan, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and all these countries that are flocking to come to this country?
Well, they're also going to South Africa. They're going to the Middle East. They're also going to Egypt. They're also going to, well, other countries as well. Australia. They're going to China. So let's not pretend they just all go into America. So already your statement fails on that part alone. By the way, there's a huge chunk of people from Europe who have come to Africa, not just now, by the way, they've been coming here for hundreds of years. And so, what's your point?
They could maintain where they are to look like this place, then they wouldn't be flocking here, right? So the point the gentleman is making actually is in my interest, in the interest of people from outside who should still have an America they can come to.
But you're only describing developing countries.
So that's an interesting statement that he's saying. Half the people who are flocking there, they flock back. They literally help those countries they came from. And because some of them are not whatever, I'm not going to use this word, but I have to use it, fully assimilated, there's a good chance that they're going back to their own countries. And this happens in large numbers, but and it can happen even after a generation or two, where they go, and this happened with white people too. There's white people who are born in America, they move to somewhere like South Africa, then they move to England or whatever. And I mean generationally. I don't mean like one person is just hopping around.
Right? You talked about Haiti, you talked about Somalia, you're talking about other developing countries.
Well, you can see an undertone what he's saying. He will be not.
Well, he also mentioned Middle Easterns. He also
Yes, exactly.
He doesn't like. Well, he doesn't appreciate, I guess, Asians, Middle Easterns, blacks,
yes,
or anybody who's not white. So
that
you're
would
saying
dispossess his race. Yes.
So you're saying that
exactly. He's got it correct. He knows exactly what this guy is saying. That's why when people say, "Oh yeah, they're after the Mexican immigrants," no, they're after anyone who's not white, and they don't consider Mexicans to be white, so they're after them too. There is a reason. People have to wake up. What's that song by Exhibit? That's why we need to sit down and talk about the black and the brown. I'm talking about the black, Asian, Hispanic. They're trying to wipe us all from the face of this planet. Damn it. That's why we need to sit down and talk about the black and the brown.
Because immigrants are coming into this country, that they wouldn't be able to maintain the white picket fence, the greenery. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, to that, you and I don't have to look very far away at all. Have you taken a look at any black neighborhood in America recently?
So again, the main target of white supremacy is black people. This is why he's saying, have you ever looked at black communities? He's not saying, even though this guy says he doesn't want to mix with Asians or any of these other people, and he doesn't want them to be the majority, not just black people, but he goes straight to black people for some reason. It's like, oh, go straight to black people. And then, of course, I've done a lot of research on this because, every time people are always like mentioning terrible places with black people in America. And one of the ones that I've been looking at, trying to find deep information about the population, all of that, is Ladera Heights, which is a place in America, which is let's just say it's a very prosperous area. But one of the things about it that strikes me immediately is that it reminds me of a lot of suburbs in Southern Africa or South Africa. They look a lot like this with these giant houses. Now, of course, the places that look like this in South Africa, even though the majority of them will have black people, they have some white people, and so some people will disqualify them. But there's some places in America that look like this, in South Africa that look like this. Now you're wondering, why am I talking about South Africa? Well, this guy's talking about immigrants. Immigrants. Why is he going to black people who, the majority of them who are in America who are black, are, and I'm just using this word because they use it sometimes, foundational Black Americans. They're literally Americans who have been there forever. They're not immigrants. What does that have to do with the conversation? Why would he target Black people who are really are have as much right as the white people? Even the white supremacists go, okay, those Black people have the right to be here because they were here early. One of the places that's like this from South Africa is a place called East London. I actually remember, it's called Emonte in African language, but I remember that when I first saw this place, because a lot of the places that I travel to were not that they're good, but they're good in a still bad way. When I got to this place, I was like, are we in the right country? It was next level. So I'm not promoting it. I'm not paid sponsor or nothing. I'm just saying there's some places in Africa that will throw you sideways.
Starting with Boston, starting with Detroit, starting with Baltimore, Bridgeport, Waterbury. Have
And
you
what's
seen
wrong?
them?
I mean, I understand those are cities that are failing.
Exactly. Now, if imagine.
So we're blaming it on the Black people. We're not putting responsibility or accountability on the city or anything.
This is not a conversation about Black people. I mean, I understand her point, I understand his point, blah, blah, blah. It's been said over and over again. But this guy's point was that he wants white people to be the majority. This means Asians can't be the majority. This means other people who are not Black can't be the majority. So all you have to do is provide places in America with other races. Doesn't even have to be Black people. You don't have to focus on that are showing that they don't have a tendency for destruction or whatever, as they try to stereotype us in that way. His point is pointless.
Anything like
A
that.
city is made up of those people. A city is only with people that live in it. A place is only as good as the people who live in it. America is only as good as it is that attracted people from around the world based on who built it, established it, and maintains it. If we can build and maintain public toilets in our country, we can maintain this complex infrastructure in America.
This is why it's always dangerous when you have a Black person, especially one who comes from another country. I hope this guy doesn't come from Africa, because we have enough of those people who are from Africa and go to America and start downplaying Africa in such a way. We all know that the rich places in Africa, they're pretty clean. I've seen it. I've seen the rich places are pretty clean. Stop this nonsense. And then this is why it's an economy thing. It's like the money is this way, the money is that way. There's a group of people in Africa that would be considered the white people of Africa, even though they're Black, because they basically keep all the money and live in safe neighborhoods and clean areas. And then everybody else gets to live in dangerous places. Stop acting like Africa, the whole of Africa, is just a junkyard. Stop. What is going on here? And then obviously now he's, basically reduced everything that this guy was saying to Africa, because that's really what they want to talk about. Black people.
You seriously, as an immigrant, think that if this country falls in the hands of some countries that you have just mentioned, we still have an America that will attract people from West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, Asia, and all other places?
So why is he so even concerned that there's going to be white disposition when they already own everything, they already maintain everything? What are you afraid of? Why is he...
He's just saying.
These are the wrong questions. Not what are you afraid of? The question that you should be asking is, do you then believe that since these other countries can't take care of their places, that we should have white people control those places? Because apparently you're saying they can never fix their countries in the way that you're saying. And it would be very interesting to know what his answer would be. Because from what he's saying, it sounds like he's saying that the Africans can't.
Let's keep it the way it is so people can keep coming here.
No, the reason why people come here is because there's an engine to work. There's not manufacturing anymore, but there are
opportunities.
Reasons. Yeah, there's
and
opportunities.
Who created those opportunities?
First of all, the guy doesn't want to maintain it the way it is. This guy's being silly. Also, claiming that it's good for immigrants, that they're going to kick out immigrants, is hilarious. And then lastly, this thing of like, oh, they're just going there for opportunities and stuff like that. Yes, this goes against what you were saying in the beginning. They're not going there because there's white people. They're going there for opportunities, meaning that most of the immigrants are probably going to help the country because they're going there for what? Opportunities.
The people he doesn't want displaced.
So
they created the opportunity that began to attract the world.
First of all, the same people that brought that opportunity are those same immigrants that you're talking against. It's not just white people sitting there with their legs crossed causing opportunity. There's Jewish people, there's Italian people, there's Middle Easterners, there's Africans, especially stolen Africans, there's Native Americans, all these people that were building opportunities. And this idea of like, oh, then the whole world wanted to go there. Okay, a lot of immigrants go to America, but they go all kinds of places.
The founding fathers of this country, who were later colonized, the United States of America was founded by white people. Yes, they stole it from Indians, fine, whoever want to say that.
I love what an emotional thing that he gives for the, oh, it's the land, they took it, it's the why, it's nice. And then he's like, yes, it's the Indian. All of a sudden, when it comes to the Indians, it's like whoever wants, what do you mean whoever wants to say that? That's the truth. That's what happens. And they didn't take it from Indians, they took it from Native Americans. And it is true. They took it by force.
Stole the land, fine. We are talking about what it became. It became what is now attractive to the entire world.
Oh, is that right? That's how it works? It's not. Let me ask a question. This is a very important question. Why were so many white people migrating to the Americas before America was built up? Isn't it obvious that the reason why a lot of people are migrating there is because there's more than just the buildings and opportunity, and that first of all, it's getting a lot of public attention, so a lot of people know about the continent. Secondly, because it's open to visitors, unlike now, a lot of people were willing to come in because they're open to having a lot of people come in. And then thirdly, the area, it's not like a frozen area. It's not the weather is not terrible, at least not everywhere.
How would you describe America right now?
In what sense?
In the sense of who runs America right now?
Who runs it?
Yes.
The administration, you mean?
Not just the administration. So the way he's describing it is he's basically saying, I don't want all of these people here because I want
dispossession of white, meaning that
so it's okay to have all these people here.
But they are here already.
Yeah, they're here already.
Exactly. He's not saying that he's
I love how he knows so much about the guy's opinion, doesn't even know his name, but somehow he knows like this is exactly what he's trying to say. Let me tell you what he's trying to say. Jared Taylor believes that white people should be the only people in America. He believes that, and he has compared it to Japan because that's where he comes from. And he said that in Japan, everything works better because they are one race. That's him saying that. That's not me. I'm quoting him.
Angry that people are here. He understands what immigration means. So he understands that the dispossession means that if these people becomes the majority, my children will have no future. They will have no culture, no language, nothing.
But we bring the culture.
No.
Yeah, really? This guy said no so confidently. What part of American culture is not touched by immigrants who came there, whether forced or not? What part of it is not touched by black people, Asians, Indians, Jews? I mean, I would even add white people there because we're already accepting this false idea that white people are the real natives or they get dibs on the country.
You came into my house. My culture was there before you arrived as a guest.
But we're coming with cultures. We're coming with customs.
What
we're coming
people
with all
do
of
in
these
other
things.
countries, which is beautiful about America, is this. If you go into somebody, so we have migrants and immigrants, right? Migrants go to a place just to have better life, work, make money, and go home.
This is not true for a lot of migrants. A lot of migrants go places and stay there forever, having generations and generations of people. If you don't believe me, just Google countries and look at their migrant populations. Very few countries in the world have just had one population that's exactly the same since the country started. Even if you just pick like a random date, like pick, let's say the 1900s, start at the 1900s and see how many countries don't have new people from that era, from that time. Also, there's something he said earlier that I want to address where he said it again. He said, "You come into my home." What are you talking about? It's the Native Americans' home. And now you want to bring a new culture. Who brought a new culture except
Immigrants go to a place in order to have permanent residency.
Okay.
Now, if you choose to go to a place to have permanent residency, there are two things you need to do, okay, to keep the growth of the country, the development of the country, and whatever it was that attracted you. One, segregate yourself as the Chinese do nicely in Chinatown so you can protect your own little culture in Chinatown.
So this is a retrospective view, and also no one agrees with this. This idea of like isolate yourself, what are you talking about? Muslims try to do that in other countries, and the white people go crazy about them isolating themselves. They're like, you should be part of the country. The reason why this person is saying that is because the Chinese population is very successful in America. And so he is going, oh, you have to isolate yourself like the Chinese. No, you don't have to isolate yourself. And not only do you not have to isolate yourself, but does he really think that all Chinese people just isolate themselves when they get to America? You know how many Chinese people in America go with the plan that they're going to marry like anyone who is not from their home origin? You know how many foreigners in America come with that mentality?
Or the rest assimilate.
Okay. But immigrants come here, they work, they build businesses. They're the ones who are the doctors. They're the ones
He's
who are
not
engineers.
complaining about that. He's talking about you becoming the majority, which means things would have fallen into the hands of the majority.
So-
it's all he's concerned about.
So when they fall into the majority,
I wish I was the one asking him the questions. I mean, I know it, no insult to this woman, but she's just going along with everything he's saying and asking questions in the softest way possible. She's not asking the real questions, which is like, let's ask you a question, right? Because you said this in the beginning, right? Simple question. You said, why don't they make the places they came from better? Well, you're in America right now, so why don't you go back to wherever the hell you came from and make it better? Since it's such a noble task that you're bringing it up right now, go do it. I bet you the answer is going to be because it's not that easy, especially when you have a Western state trying to sit on you the whole time.
things are just going to fall apart.
Well, we've seen it from where you came from. That's what drove you out to this place. I wouldn't even want somebody to come here. And I'm saying that you know that this complex infrastructure can only be managed and has been managed for 250 years.
By whites.
That's correct.
And then the only
Oh my God. It's not even worth arguing with anymore. It's like, why are you saying what you're saying? It doesn't even make sense. Firstly, you attack the black people, which again, the majority of them have already been here as long as the white people have been here. So it's not even an immigration problem. So I don't know why you're attacking that. Clearly, you don't have a problem with immigration when it comes to that. The one thing that is very consistent is skin color.
they're the only ones who understand administration. They're the only ones who understand how to maintain.
The country is built on a culture.
So you're saying
without that culture, America wouldn't be.
So you're saying if
Okay, so she asked him a true question and he had to retreat after saying that. She asked him, so you're saying that white people are the only people who understand administration, all of that has to do with all those skills, and he had to retreat. Why wouldn't he have? Now he's going, no, 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 it's the culture. Well, if it's the culture, that means anybody can assimilate to that culture and then just pick it up and carry on. But of course, he's going to say they can't because it's not their culture, which then goes back to it being race.
Minorities and immigrants come together and they're working in an administration, they won't be able to maintain a city. They don't have the capacity.
Do you have to ask me that question?
I'm just simply saying because
the people.
It sounds like
wait. He's not concerned about Germans coming to dispossess whites.
That's right. He's not concerned about Germans trying to remove whites, because we all know that Germans have never in Europe tried to get rid of an entire group of white people, or, one or two other groups of white people. They've never done anything like that. They have no historical record of doing stuff like that. So obviously he has no concern about that.
It's not talking about...
Because they're already white.
That's correct. It's not... No, he's saying their country. Okay? I wouldn't worry if a bunch of Japanese are coming to my country. I know wherever they would occupy...
Yeah, that's the weirdest statement I've ever heard. I wouldn't worry if a bunch of Japanese came to my country. Okay.
Why wouldn't you worry?
Because I've seen where they're coming from. Okay. It's attractive. Wherever they occupy, they'll make it look at where they're coming from, right? I'm not going to worry about...
Again, that is a very strange statement that he's saying. They're going to make it look like where they come from. I don't think this guy understands how much the people who run the country are responsible for what the country looks like. Obviously, there's, multiple things. There's the citizens, corporations, so business, and then there's the state itself. And if those three things run smoothly, then you get a great country. But if one of them breaks down, it is possible for your country to break down. For example, China is a pretty sweet place, but a lot of the time, some people who come from China go to countries like South Africa, and then they set up basically sweatshops, and they go to places like Cambodia and places like that, and they do the exact same thing. Now, China doesn't want them doing stuff like that. At least I hope they don't. And they punish them once they catch them. But this idea of if you come from a great place, then you're not going to do bad things. Ask Nigeria about, the French people who come there and steal their oil and basically pollute their rivers and stuff like that. Ask Ethiopians or Somalians about, the destruction of their boating communities.
Crime. I'm not going to worry about blight. I'm not going to worry about trashing my streets. I'm not going to worry about petty stealing, because I know where they're coming from.
Because they don't have the capacity to do those things.
That's correct. But I know...
Okay, it's gone ridiculous now. He says they don't even have the capability. Do you know in France, petty stealing is one of the biggest crimes that's there? Like pickpockets are one of the biggest problems. Also, there's a bunch of petty stealing in America. I think there's a lot more people who get killed by white people in America now than in South Africa.
People, if they are coming to my country, I'll be worried. Because of what you know about them. All you have to do, this gentleman has a window to some countries. He's seen the way they are in those countries, that you can't even handle a simple disagreement, political disagreement that doesn't turn violent and bloody. Where people...
Okay, so you can't handle a simple political disagreement without it getting bloody. Let's think. What country recently had someone who was a debater get killed for his political opinions? And he got killed by a white person. Which country was that? Recently. And there's many examples from America of this. So don't give me that. And then also, you think America has never done terrible things around the world based on politics?
People are killed and all that. He's seen it. Why shouldn't he worry? Nancy, let's really be fair to this man. He's not just saying bluntly that no foreigners should come to this country. He said, if you become the majority, my children will have no more culture.
So...
Well, first of all, you said culture. You're trying to make his argument better, which it's not, by the way. It's not working. But you said culture. He said that he doesn't want to see the death of his people, meaning that he thinks that if the majority, then it will be over.
he also said if the policies that Trump administers will help white people. So how does he even have the audacity to even say it? How does he even feel like
Okay,
it's okay?
that's what I said from the beginning. I'll take the Trump policies out of it because
Okay.
no single American policy. Trump said, I'm going to clean up the country with violent illegal immigrants. Any country would do so. Now, I'll tell you something.
Okay, so the part that he's correct about is that most countries do not want people coming into the country in a way that is not what they deem correct. So that part is correct, but the whole thing about the Trump thing, I'm glad he's ignoring it because that is a dumb argument. But let's see what else he's going to say.
The United States of America, all the way from the 60s, 70s, all the way to the late 80s, was the only country among all the industrialized countries that was very friendly to illegals. America never chased illegals in the streets and sent them out. Never did.
So this guy is just straight up lying. So this is something called Operation Blank. There's a word there, back. The other word, Operation Wet something. So you can put that together and figure out what the word is. Was an immigration law enforcement initiative by the administration of President Dwight D. Eisenhower. It was created by Joseph May Swing, a retired U.S. Army Lieutenant General and head of United States Immigration. Well, basically, under this, hundreds of thousands of illegals were deported in not so nice ways. And it's not the only one, by the way. This is just the one that is considered the most before the 70s. So before the 70s, this is the one that deported the most amount of people. So this idea, like it was the place that was taking in immigrants. What are you talking about? There's literally like all kinds of books and stuff about why these people were not wanted in America and were seen as not good. It's a very old one. By the way, yes, this was the official name of this policy. Another thing is he's saying that America is the only country that's taking illegals in the developed nations, which is a very weird way of putting it. But yes, it was not the only one. There was a bunch of countries doing that as well at the time, especially since they were running away from, Russia was one of them. Of course, France is another one, and so many other countries, but whatever. He just makes information up anyway, so what does it matter?
In the 60s, ask anyone who lived in Europe. Germany had it, France had it, even the UK had it, Israel had it. You can't be walking around these countries screaming, I'm an immigrant, I'm illegal, and they take you out.
No, not really. There's actually many countries where people were illegal. China is another example that I just forgot, where people were illegally migrating into the country and they didn't just take you out, as you say.
Israel doesn't allow it. Many countries don't allow it. Russia doesn't allow it. South Korea doesn't allow it.
So the idea that Russia does not take illegal immigrants is one of the weirdest ones. With a quick Google search, you can see that more than 7 million immigrants came in there without permission. And a lot of them come from the Middle East, of course, which why wouldn't they? It's simple. And the question, of course, would be, why would the Russians allow them to go in the same way that America doesn't really allow you to be an illegal immigrant? It's cheap labor. It's all of that. The benefits that come with being with people like that, they come with it. So I know that America likes to pretend like they're the most unique place in the world, but I'm sorry, people travel.
You can't be an illegal immigrant and be bold enough to have a placard announcing it.
Actually, for a long time you could. And these are new laws put in place by the Russia. This is the Russian Times. And it says, though Russia's labor-starved economy relies on approximately 10.5 million migrant workers hailing primarily from Central Asia Ethno, national, and racial prejudice remain persistent across the country. Russian officials, too, have long stopped shying away from making anti-migrant statements to remain in step with the public mood. So you can see there that before they were sort of fine with it. Last year's deadly terrorist attack on the Crotus City Hall concert venue outside Moscow and the subsequent arrest of Tajik nationals suspected of carrying out the attack brought this xenophobia to a fever pitch, with sweeping police raids on migrant communities across the country that saw tens of thousands of migrants detained. Russia's forcefully deported more than 80,000 foreigners in 2024, nearly double the previous year's rate, according to Federal Bailiff Service statistics cited by the state-run TASS news agency. So, yes, for a long time you could.
It is only recently that the crime has increased and the border at the southern end of this country became porous, that anything and everybody is pouring in, that caused the country to be alarmed.
Isn't it funny how it mimics Russia? By the way, this is the reason why Russia is also considered a soft Western state, because they do have the same racial ideas now, especially. Back in the day, they were sort of different, but nowadays there's a growing number of and those people a lot of them are very westernized, I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Just within 8 years, when the number of illegal immigrants pouring through the southern border, have you seen the crime? Today, they are going to sign the Riley Act, which is a girl killed by an illegal criminal who came through the southern border. Why shouldn't these gentlemen be worried about something like that?
Because you're talking about one person doing a crime versus the majority of the people. Let me tell you, if every single migrant did a crime the way that you're talking about, especially one that violent, then you would probably have a point. And you would be too late, by the way, because if they all got caught one body each, it'll be a full-scale war. You do not know what you're talking about. By the way, I'm not saying that illegal immigration or whatever, you can do whatever you want. The countries are doing it. Russia's kicking them out, blah, blah, blah. But let's not pretend that they don't do good things for the country. That's why most of those politicians, whether in Russia, Germania, France, wherever, there's a reason why they wanted a good look for the immigrants for the most part, because they understand the amount of wealth that can be generated from that level of cheap labor.
You came into a country illegally, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if in the last 8 years, the millions of illegals that poured into America, we begin to hear stories like, oh my God, look at the innovation out there. They did it. Look at this thing. They did it. People will be sympathetic to them. But that is not the case.
Yes, but we have immigrants who are engineers. We have immigrants.
Would you allow, as a Haitian, would you allow Chinese to come to Haiti and slowly seeing that these people won't stop bleeding? They're just breeding and they're going to take over my country. There would be no Haiti.
Well, with the corrupt governments that exist, that will probably happen. But obviously, no one would want to just have in one generation a complete whatever of the people. But I mean, look at what is it, Tobago? I forgot how to say that word. Don't they have like a lot of Indians in that country or something?
You would be worried generally. You will be worried. No country has allowed any foreigners, immigrants from anywhere to overwhelm the country. They control it.
Okay, I understand.
No one's talking about overwhelming the country. Again, you're exaggerating. Everybody knows that you wouldn't want like 50% of the population in America right now to be made of illegal immigrants. That would be strange. But over generations and generations, if people just kept coming for generations, like think about it, if over 1,000 years, people kept coming to wherever, pick a place, and then the people changed, is it really that big a deal?
Yes. So he's talking about, I'm worried. I'm seeing what is going on.
But America is not just for the whites. It's for everybody. It's everyone who can come here and to work and to contribute contribute to society.
The American White Institution is what established the naturalization process.
Yes.
It means they own the country. That's why they established the naturalization.
This man will say anything to protect white people. I don't want to insult him and call him what I want to call him and say he's trying to protect his masters, but basically that's what he's doing.
Process to say you can come in and I'll help you through the process to become a citizen. Well, so it's not for everybody.
Okay.
It's for those who founded it and who have established the culture upon which the country is built.
Yeah, all of that is nonsense. America is not a color. It has never been a color. It should have never been a color in the beginning. They tried that stuff. It was a waste of time. They got rid of too many people. They did terrible things to people. They insulted people while kicking them out of the country. They did terrible things to the Asian communities as well. I mean, I know people nowadays look at Asian communities as if like they're the best symbol of immigration, but let's not forget that they too used to bring large amounts of gangs at one time to America with the Joe Boys and all these other types of people, and then that got pressed on, and you could see how communities could change.
You can assimilate into that culture, or you can establish a little corner somewhere like the Chinese are doing, the Koreans are doing, the Japanese are doing in LA.
So basically you're saying anybody who is a non-white, just come here and just assimilate and stay in your corner. Because this country is not really your country. This is a borrowed country for you. You're just here.
Borrowed citizenship, like I said, when a tree falls into a river, does it become a fish?
Okay, now try to convince that to the white South Africans. Let's see how well they take it, that this country is an African country.
Yeah.
So you can go to China and be born in China by a Haitian diplomat, and then a black kid will say, I'm Chinese. Mm-hmm. People will tend to look at you.
Okay, so this guy's lying. First of all, China considers everything that touches China to be related to China. So if you're born in China, I don't know why he uses a diplomat, but if you're born in China, they consider you a real Chinese in the same way that they consider everybody else. Now, the word China over there is confusing a lot of people because Chinese, well, outside of China, Chinese can mean the race of people, and then Chinese can also mean the nation. Really, it really means the nation of China. China is not a race. There's very different types of people. China is a huge place. There's people who are like sort of Middle Eastern who represent China. Then you have the largest group, with the one which has Mongol DNA, I forgot what they called. Then you have the ones in the corners, the more browner ones. Then you have the ones on the other side. It's not one race necessarily.
You can't go to Japan as a black kid and then say, I'm Japanese because I was born here. Mm-hmm. Because saying I'm Chinese is not just a citizenship, it's a culture.
Okay, so why, when the Chinese found out that there was an African group that had mixed with Chinese people, why did they invite one of them in their universities and gave them instant citizenship in China? Why did that happen? Isn't it obvious that China doesn't see it the way that you see it? That like, oh, you can't be Chinese. China, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that they're, the greatest thing ever as well, but they do have this thing where they're a little different than what people think. And of course, it's like China's not just it's also a culture. No, there's Chinese culture, there's Chinese people, there's the Chinese country, which is called China, and then there's all these things are separate, but you're putting them all together. It's not just like the American culture, which is obviously several cultures. Then there's American history, then there's American people. That all these things are very different things. We just use the same word because they're under the umbrella of something like America.
Say I'm Japanese, I'm Korean. That's why they don't allow citizenship.
Mm-hmm. So I was born here, so therefore I wouldn't understand the culture of white America. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. You have to say if you do or don't. They will understand you, and you will understand it in totality of it. The WASP culture, mm-hmm. White Anglo-Saxon Protestants, are the founding fathers of this country, right?
Okay, I got it at this point. So he's just repeating himself over and over. I think we're done here.